Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Eachine E013 small pepper. This is a tiny whip clone, and it's got the 6mm brush motors, 31mm propellers, classic tiny whip form factor here with the FPV camera and the center there. And it comes in two versions. You get the version with the drone and the transmitter and battery, and then you got the one with the goggles. It comes with these VR 006 goggles, and these are pretty decent goggles. I know there's a lot of people that don't like them, but I happen to like them a lot. This version of the 006 goggles only comes with one antenna SMA connector here, and does include one linear antenna. So this is basically like the kit to get if you want to get into FPV. If you have absolutely nothing and you want to try FPV, this is definitely one to check out because it's about $65, and with coupons you can get it below $60. Comes with everything you need. You get the battery, a charger, the transmitter, the goggles. The goggles already have a battery in there. You just need to add a few, I think these are some AAA batteries into the transmitter, and you're good to go, and you can go start flying. Unfortunately, they don't give you a ton of these batteries. You only get one of these 200 milliamp hour 1S batteries here. Comes with this I think it's called an MMCP connector. It's like a 2mm JST connector, and the same one. It's the same one that comes on the E011. So I actually flew with this guy here, and I got like 3.5 minutes of flight time. But then I also flew with these batteries. Here's a little bigger. These are the ones for the E011. They're 260 milliamp hours. And I was getting close to 5 minutes. The problem is that this battery is a little bit long, so you have to cut out some plastic here, and I kind of bent that plastic down so that you can slide the battery back so that you can connect it. So that's the only thing. It's pretty easy to do. Just take some snips and cutters, cut some plastic away here, and then push this flap down so that you can get the battery all the way in. But I'll put a link in the description. You get a pack of 5 of these, and it includes a charger, and you get you have plenty of flying with this guy at about close to 5 minutes per flight. So the instructions that come with this are pretty good. And it comes on a really big sheet here, and basically on one side is going to be all the instructions for the drone, basically how it's put together, the parts in there. It covers pretty much everything for anyone that has no knowledge of drones or FPV. How to use a transmitter, how to set your frequency, for example, very important. And then this side of the page covers everything for the drone, and the other side of the page covers everything for the goggles, including how to set your channel, scan for the live channel, all that stuff. I actually have a playlist of videos on the VR006 goggles, so I'm not going to really cover that too much here. I'll put a card in the corner to that playlist of videos, which I cover these goggles in depth along with a bunch of mods, and so you can check out those videos if you want more information on how to use these goggles and what they're all about. So I think one of the more difficult things for a newbie or a first-time pilot is setting their channel on this little tiny video transmitter here, and because it's underneath this canopy, you can see the video transmitter is covered by this canopy, and the little lights are actually on the back of this video transmitter, but you can kind of see them through this little hole here. And when I plug in power, you can see some of the lights flashing there. And then you're going to use this button that's right here through this hole. This is part of the video transmitter to change your bands and channels according to the instructions on the instruction sheet. So you just want to make sure that whatever channel you select matches the one in the goggles, and in the goggles that it will show you on the on-screen display what the channel is so that you can match them up. Now, I actually ended up taking the canopy off anyway because I need to remove this antenna out of the way, and I'll explain that in a second. You take the canopy off with these 2 screws. They just screw into the frame here and here. Pop that off, and you're going to want to move this is the receiver antenna for the flight controller that the transmitter talks to. And in the default setup, it's running from about below the camera lens here on the board straight back along the board itself. So that PCB with all the electronic circuitry is blocking the signal, so it affects your range or how far you can go with the drone flying away. So what I did is some people are actually putting holes in the canopy and raising the antenna up, but I think that's incorrect because it's a polarization issue. It's kind of technical. The antenna, it's inside the controller, is also horizontal this way. It's not vertical. And so if that were vertical, then you want this to be vertical. So if you want the polarization to match, you want this to be horizontal as well. So instead of it going up, I actually rotated it 90 degrees sideways, so it's actually going out this way and kind of away from the PCB here, and sort of got a little more exposure. And I got, after I did that, I had no problems with range or fail safes or crashing like that. It was pretty good. My control link was pretty good, and I was able to go pretty much everywhere in my house and also outside my house, back and forth, no problem, without any issues with fail safes. So you gotta take the canopy off and then just move the antenna sideways about 90 degrees like that, and then at that time you can go in and use the button here and change your channel to get the frequency to match your goggles, and then you should be good to go, and then you just put these two screws back on. Now the transmitter itself I thought was pretty good. Basically they increased the size of the transmitter just a tiny bit, maybe about like 15-20% at the most, over the older transmitter, which I think was the E013, which is really small and had very short sticks. And they've this time included some longer sticks here, but these actually just pop off here, you can see here. So I know that, for example, there are a lot of even longer sticks on like Thingiverse and other places. You can get stick adapters to make them even longer if you don't like the fact that this is not long enough. I think it's okay. I would have preferred it to be a little bit longer, but there are other things you can stick on here to make the sticks longer if you prefer even longer sticks. But the fact that they've increased the size of the transmitter and made the sticks a little bit bigger does make it easier to fly. So I definitely give them props for that. You know, the rest of these buttons are pretty self-explanatory. They're in the instructions. You got your trim buttons. We got the headless mode and one key return, which I never use. And then on top of here, you got your rates button and then your flips button. So it's pretty standard stuff. To bind it, you plug in the drone, it starts flashing. You turn on the transmitter, and then the normal bind procedures to throttle up and throttle down. You get a few beeps. The lights turn solid, and then you can go and fly. In terms of the flying ability of the drone, I thought that the roll and pitch were fairly proportional in terms of, like, if you move it just a little bit, it just moves a little bit. If you move the stick a little bit more, it moves even more. The yaw was not proportional, so if you move the yaw like a little bit, nothing would happen. Nothing would happen. Also, it would just twitch suddenly. So you'll see that in the flight demo. It just suddenly would just like twitch, like all of a sudden on the yaw. It just looks very twitchy when it's flying. Where it's like it kind of does like this thing. Basically, it's like twitch. So it has something to do with the way the potentiometer and I think the yaw on this side of the stick is working. I'm not exactly sure what's up with that, or if there's any way to fix that or adjust it. It does make flying somewhat difficult at first if you're used to proportional sticks, but you kind of figure it out after a little while. If you keep flying it, you'll adjust to the sort of jerkiness of the yaw movements, and you'll plan ahead for that when you're flying. You get used to it. But I think that's probably the biggest drawback of the controller itself. I wish that the protocol would be published, or they would tell people what it is, because if you have like one of those 4-in-1 multi-module protocols, then you could fly this with, say, like your Tyrannus or like a FlySky radio like the i6. And I did try a few of the known protocols that that are like Hubsan, Shearson, that kind of stuff, but even the E011 protocol and the E010, and none of them worked for this, so I couldn't get my FlySky radio or Tyrannus to work with this using the multi-protocol modules. Hopefully that'll be known soon. Once you can do that, then you don't have to use this little tiny transmitter, and then you can obviously use one of those other transmitters to fly this a little bit more precisely. But flying it with this transmitter wasn't bad. I got used to it, and you'll see that in the video that I'm flying it fairly precisely. Not as well as I would like, but it's probably as good as I'm going to get with something like this. So I know that there were some issues with reception here with the video transmitter and these goggles. I personally didn't have too many problems. I did make some corrections to the antenna here, and I made a video about that, put a card in the corner. For one thing, this video transmitter isn't the greatest compared to some of the top and micro video transmitters out there for 25 milliwatts. Obviously they're getting this at a cost, so for what you get here in terms of for about $60, it's pretty good value. The video transmission isn't the greatest, even with proper tuning and everything, but you'll see that in the flight demo, the FPV footage. It's okay. Once you get kind of further away and you got like walls and floors and like objects in between, then you get more breakups. It's usually pretty typical for 5.8 gigahertz FPV, but some of the better video transmitters have a little bit less breakup than this one. I wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's definitely not the best. This is kind of somewhere in the middle, high kind of average. And I did get my FPV video recorded onto DVR using my other VR006. These are the originals with the antenna diversity, but I just, this is the one where I did the DVR mod, so I can record the video that I get back, whereas this one does not have that. I did fly with this and compared them both. The reception appears to be identical because I think they have the same receivers in them, since that this one has the second SMA connector for the antenna diversity and this one does not. So I flew it without the second antenna, just with the single antenna here, and I flew with this Eachine antenna instead of the linear antenna. I think the reception was a little bit better with a circular polarized antenna. So if you want to check this one, I think it's like $5, and it's a pretty good value for what you get. I'll put a link in the description for this as well. If you want to know how to do DVR mod to this, I'll have it's part of that playlist for the VR006. You can check that out if you want to do the DVR mod. But I did fly with this and recorded to this DVR, so you get an idea what the reception's like on the VR006 goggles with this setup, and so it's going to be pretty accurate a replication of what you're going to get with the actual goggles here and what you see in what you buy in the kit. So yeah, it's really amazing how far these Tiny Whip FPV kits have come along in about a year's time. I remember when I first started building these Tiny Whips, I was investing $150 to $200 just to mod an Inductrix FPV. And it's not including getting the radio and batteries and goggles and all that. Now you can get pretty much everything for about $60. Goggles, battery, transmitter, and then you can get right into the FPV and FPV around your house, at the park. It's amazing how far things have come, and I think that for the value for what you get for your money, it has come a long way in about a year's time. So if you are interested in flying these Tiny Whip micro drones inside your house, I know that winter's coming soon here and it's going to be getting pretty cold outside, and if you want to do some indoor flying, definitely check this one out. I think that it's got some shortcomings, but for the money that you spend, you're getting a lot of value, so definitely recommend checking this out. I'm going to leave you with some flight footage of some FPV flights I took. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.